Hey, y'all. Thank you for joining me today. My name is Braden Miller, and I will be doing my MSTN 660 Journal Club presentation on conventional machine learning. The paper I chose is titled Development of Vickers Hardness Prediction Models via Microstructural Analysis in Machine Learning. The authors are Suchita, Nikhil, and Abhishek, and they were located at the Materials Research Center at the Indian Institute of Science in Bangalore, India. So the main focus of the work was that they attempted to predict Vickers hardness values for different nickel and cobalt-based superalloys. These are often used in turbines due to their good high temperature properties, and they utilize primarily microstructural, compositional, and processing information to train the machine learning models. Um, the work that they did on their feature design and selection was primarily collecting all of their data, such as their micrographs from their SEM of the different phase dispersions for different microstructures. They then took these SEM micrographs and processed them using the OpenCV Python package. They used functions such as contour area, arc length, and moments after they went through and processed them, as you can see on the right, where they took the original image, denoised it, thresholded it, and then used a candy filter for edge detection. Some of the structural features that they were able to pull out of these images was stuff such as the volume or area fraction of the gamma prime versus gamma phase, the density of the different grains, aspect ratios of the grains, that's roughly how like sharp they are rather than rounded, and many more things. And then on the other hand, they also went through and collected compositional features such as, how much nickel, how much iron, how much cobalt, and elemental features such as average transition temperatures, such as melting and boiling, specific heat, valencies, number of valencies, and many more. They went through and for the elemental features, they basically calculate these by just taking all of the different values for the elements by themselves, multiplying that value by the fraction in the composition, and then adding it all together to give you what they call the average um, transition temperatures or average specific heats or valency or etc. They also got processing features such as annealing time and annealing temperature. They got more. The reason I only list these two are because these are the two that their feature selection kept choosing as the primary contributors. And on the right, you can see an actual staged image like we saw before of them taking a micrograph, denoising it, binarizing it, and then doing edge detection using a canny filter. So the machine learning portion of this, they actually went through and used 3 different sets of features. They all contained the same values, if that makes sense. But the first set was only structural information, so only things they could pull from those micrographs. The second one was only compositional and elemental. Um, and the third was all 3 of them, structural, compositional, and elemental features. Um, Feature selection was performed on each of the sets using Pearson correlation coefficients to select features that do not share too much information with each other. This means that anything that heavily correlated with another feature rather than the target property would be thrown away because uh, it would just add additional complexity without giving very much different information. And then after they did Pearson correlation coefficients, they used least absolute shrinkage and selection operators to reduce the feature space. This is, from my understanding, similar to PCA but more complicated. Um, I've heard of it before, but I really haven't used it, so I don't have much experience with it, but it was interesting to see someone use something other than PCA. And then, so for their model development, they just used the scikit-learn Python library. Data was all scaled using the standard scaler. They tested multiple machine learning algorithms. A few of these were the Gaussian process regressor, GPR, random forest or RF, support vector regression or SVR, and extreme gradient boost, XGBoost. Their best performer was the Gaussian process regressor with a radial basis function for the kernel. And then on the right here, we can see some of their results. These are parity plots, as we've mentioned in class before. A shows the prediction results from the feature set of composition and elemental features. B is structural, compositional, and elemental features, and C is structural features only. As you can see, B here has some of the best results, which makes sense because it is the largest feature set and covers the most different aspects of a material that we would look at as material scientists. So it kind of makes sense that it does a better job with this. And then so now we're on to at least what I identified as some new techniques. I know that lasso's been around, but I had not seen it employed or had a decent explanation of what it is. So it was interesting to see them use that instead of PCA because that's where I always go for dimensionality reduction. And then also the way that they trained multiple models on the different splits of features, meaning like the way they split it into compositional and elemental versus just compositional versus just structural or whatever. It was very interesting to try to see a little bit more of how the algorithm might be leaning on these different features to predict the target properties. And then finally, I had never seen anyone use OpenCV this successfully to process SEM micrographs to obtain the volume area fraction of phases and other microstructural features that would generally take a lot more effort on the part of an actual material scientist rather than some code. And with that, I would like to say thank you for listening to me yap, and thanks and gig'em, and I hope this is helpful to you in the future. Thank you.